Must have dozed off. Well, no matter. Nothing ever happens around this old railroad depot anymore anyhow. Now that folks go gallivanting around the country in their automobiles and their campers and their buses and airplanes, just doesn't seem like there's much to do for an old railroad man like myself. But I think I got it licked. I keep busy. You see, I work on my model railroad. No kidding. This is my hobby. Of course, I'll admit there are other hobbies like stamp collecting. Then there's butterfly hunting. And stamp collecting. And also some like bird watching. And stamp collecting. But I prefer model railroading. And that's what our story is all about.
From the beginning, man has always been a thinker, constantly dreaming up new ideas. The idea grows, man nurtures it, struggles to develop it until at last he becomes totally frustrated. Throughout history, many cultures experimented with model railroading, with mixed results. Years of patient study by the world's best minds finally produced the modern model train. Its complexity and sophistication are a far cry from man's first crude attempts. The scales. There are many different scales, ranging from O, in which 1/4 of an inch equals 1 foot. S, in which 3/16 of an inch equals 1 foot, is much smaller and is equal to 2 1/2 O scales, unless, of course, you go to HO, in which 17 N scales laid end to end wouldn't fit. However, Z scale, being only 22 times smaller in the southern hemisphere, can work in a radius of only 12 tangents across the end of an HO caboose, and that doesn't affect O and S at all. You put them all together and they spell Austin snots. However, the three most common scales are HO, N, and O. Anyone can be a model railroader. All it takes is a little imagination. The modern home offers the model railroader many fascinating places to locate his layout. This is not one of them. The first rule of model railroading is, if at first you don't succeed, try the garage. Railroader's first layout isn't always his best. The important thing is his enthusiasm. He's built it himself, and it's his. Putting models together is only a start. The challenge is in making them look real. Any layout starts with a basic shape. First, we add spurs and double-ended sidings with necessary crossovers and perhaps an inner reverse loop. As branch lines reach out to other shipping points,
more terminal sidings and oval routes will be added, while the throat of our yard expands. At this time, a second road cab or control point might be needed, with perhaps a third to oversee yard operations. As main lines grow and activity increases, more road cabs will be added. Their traffic is coordinated by a chief dispatcher or two, with more dispatchers added for each dozen or so cabs. To coordinate the yard masters, a train master and staff may be required, and perhaps the optional online UBM 9000 computerized traffic control system.
It is quite possible to become completely carried away.
Roger, Cab 52. Your 38B will intercept at Alhambra Crossing at 281. Delta Yardmaster, code green your SP-27 to Baker 773. Chief Dispatcher to Smoke River Tower. Negative your 2 inner 0 through Beamer Throat. Take the Cascade Bypass code yellow to Anderson 22. Hold there. Dispatch clear.
CV-19, request clearance for southbound reefer 779. Delta Yard, confirm code green. South Bay Tower, VIX 204 now, westbound Tower 6.
Smoke River Cat 29. Your westbound code green 88 to Harper. This is Chief Dispatch. Go ahead.
Sir, the CBX 219 unit shows Zion is down. suggest reroute through Grand Springs.
Chief Dispatcher to Mitchell 1, we're rerouting you through Grand Springs. Stand by.
Cab 33 to Chief Dispatch.
Go ahead, 33.
I have an SP special, number 8721, holding at Gary 1.
33, you're cleared to Jackson 2. Hold there for a meet with the East Mail.
Request routing.
Take the Hudson Main to Jackson 2.
Through Jackson 2. Throttle coming up.
Dispatch clear.
Cab 49, you're reassigned to the T102 Erie, now at Fargo, to pick up outbound empties. See your routing slip. Traffic control clear.
Chief Dispatch.
This is GS, I'm at 26.
We copy you, GS.
Stillwater Tower to Chief Dispatch. We found 106. He just got stuck in the tunnel up here.
Chief Dispatch to GS Limited. We found the problem. Take the Dubin turnout and hold there. Should be a couple of minutes. Dispatch clear.
Traffic control to Chief Dispatcher. We have a trouble light in Sector 7. Standby 1. Confirmed. Definite trouble light. It appears to be an electrical problem.
Check your master phase circuits.
The master phase circuits are set. Function positive. We still have a trouble light.
Adjust your low-pass stabilizer.
Correcting to flat. No change. Could be in the MacGuffin Master Power Control Unit. I'm checking the MacGuffin matrix. Wait a minute,
Shut down all power.
Power supply switch, negative function.
Try the manual override.
Manual override. No effect. We have no other way to stop. Speed controls are locked at full throttle. All units are now running out of control. Routing circuits are still operating.
All stations code red. Clear this channel and stand by for emergency operation.
Traffic to Chief Dispatcher. The CBX 219 unit projects a collision. The southbound Mo-base local and the north main switch lead at Rogers Flat in 18 seconds. Suggest evasive switching.
Cab 67, put your main lead through the turnout on switch 2027C.
New collision projection. We have a switcher meeting the Smoke River local in Jackson in 12 seconds.
Cab 14, route the Pacific Coast to Jackson 2. Cab 49, keep yours on the main.
New collision, Sector 12, we have a westbound GS4 converging with Black Widow units, then heading on the North Bay straight in 8
Put the Black Widow through the Irvine turnout.
Orient Express and the West Bay Shuttle.
Shuttle, take the Zion crossing C-106.
A triple collision at Fairfax. Mixed freight 107, yard switcher 55, and Santa Fe deadhead, all at crossover F027B.
Switcher, take the crossover.
My throttle's responding.
Standby 1.
My trouble light is out.
Confirmed. Traffic to Chief Dispatcher, speed stabilizer online. Preparing to power down. Power down sectors 1 through 3. Power down sectors 4 through 6. 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, 12, 13. Master power shut down now. All stop. We're clear.
All right. Okay. Really fantastic.
Traffic control to Chief Dispatcher. Damage is temporarily repaired. All systems green. Standing by to resume normal operation.
All right, everybody. Let's get this railroad back on the line.
Hi everybody, how goes it? Thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for sitting in your house or place of business, your bathroom, and watching us tonight. Yeah, so we did a sound check. We always try to do a sound check beforehand. We get started a little bit after like 7:45, just to kind of make sure that YouTube and Facebook are not misbehaving, which they often do. So, yeah, that film was Model Railroading Unlimited, and you probably caught a little bit of it. Which is, so just looking at the credits, I asked the question, like, who is the narrator? And as soon as I asked it, then everybody stopped talking. So, it was Hans Conrad, who was, you might remember him from Dudley Do-Right. He did the voice of Snidely Whiplash. He was also in The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, which is an amazing film. I'm going to rewind here. where he plays Dr. T, the diabolical piano teacher. He's also a great guy. He's in. I have a film called Alphabet Conspiracy where he plays the Mad Hatter. He's got this great voice. So Hans Conrad was in it, and actually I'm going to rewind it a little bit. I'm going to rewind it and let you watch it a little bit. So we're going backwards in time very quickly. So in the credits, I also noticed at the end that the host, which I don't think most of you saw, was Ward Kimball. Now, does anybody know? Oh, thanks, Elias Conreed. I can't even pronounce his name. Anyways, does anybody know who Ward Kimball is? Elias Savada doesn't. You don't get to say it because you are a film genius. But anybody? Ward Kimball? Anybody? Want to know who that? Oh yeah. So Carl just looked it up. All right, I'll tell you. Ward Kimball was one of the 9 old men that were Disney animators. He was also obviously a model train enthusiast, and him and Walt had these. I don't even know the name of the scale, but they had these kind of little trains that you could ride in their backyards, and I would say that interest in that type of thing led to Disneyland, I think, because he was totally into it. Yeah, still rewinding here. Rewind. That's not Ward Kimball that we're looking at. That's a caveman. That's Ward Kimball right there, who was one of the animators. And I don't know if you ever look at Disney animation documentaries, you'll see him featured often, and you'll see how they often film themselves doing goofy kind of things, and then they animated based on what they shot. So I'm sure he was modeled. His face, you saw it somehow because he's very expressive there. Anyways, I'll continue rewinding. So there's a little trivia for a film that you probably didn't see because I started a little bit earlier with the sound check. Anyway, so that was a film about model railroading, which is loosely, tangentially related to what we're showing tonight, which are films about trains, locomotives, railroads, etc. This is something that you... Wait. God, it's not quite a mirror. You requested. And I'm excited that you did because I have a lot of films about trains, and they actually dabble in lots of different subjects, so it's kind of fun to show do this screening, because it's not something, I don't know if it would have the interest where people would come and see it live. So this is exciting for people who are enthusiasts. All right. Let's start off with Lulu. I should say that on eBay, films that have trains in them, and just raw footage of trains, like home movies, they go for a lot of money because there's a lot of people that are really, I would say, obsessed. And it's mostly men. I don't want to pull any punches, but yeah, it's mostly men who are obsessed with trains. And they got obsessed when they were little kids, and they continue to be obsessed, and they're obsessed about train lines, obsessed about footage of people when they shot stuff on train lines. It's a big deal. Back then, it was a big deal, and it's still a big deal now, because a lot of those lines don't exist anymore. So, Black Hawk, which was a film company that released films for the home market, they capitalized on this, and they found some footage which shows steam trains leaving the Dearborn, Michigan station. So there's no sound to this, so it's quiet, so enjoy. All right, so there you go. No sound, but you know, super. If you're a, I would call this locomotive porn. That's what this is. This is people who are obsessed with train footage, and Black Hawk knew that market really well. There were a lot of amateur filmmakers who were also train enthusiasts who were shooting their own stuff, and you know, trading it and selling it in the back of amateur film magazines and train enthusiast newsletters, things like that. So whole underground. Well, and also there's subway enthusiasts. Speaking of trains, underground. No, a whole group of people that were enthused about locomotives. I mean, they're awesome. They're really awesome. You know, I think kids are obsessed with them. You know, why Thomas the Tank Engine's so popular. They are quite interesting. So there you go, and that's why you guys voted for this show tonight. So I've got one other silent film, but I will space it out a little bit and try to contextualize why I'm showing it. But this next film I'm going to show, I'm rewinding in the back. And, you know, in case you didn't know this, I'm Skip Alzheimer. I didn't really introduce myself. I am AV Geeks. I created the AV Geeks, or started the AV Geeks educational film library, and there's more than 25,000 films in this building that I'm in, which is a boarding house located secretly somewhere in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I have behind me a telecine, which can transfer films to a video signal, which I've hooked up to a computer, and I am broadcasting via the internet to your, wherever you are, to your eyeballs. Embracing more than 100 years of technology to bring you visual imagery from another time. Gosh, isn't technology awesome? This next film, as I said, you know, you guys picked locomotives and trains, and so this gives me great joy to pull from my collection, because I have a lot of different educational films from lots of different places, and there's also, you know, short subjects. Those first two films I showed were meant for you know, general audiences. One of them I got from the model railroading one I got from a library. So if people are obsessed about model railroading, which used to be a hobby of mine when I was a little kid, they would check these films out of the library. So this next film is made for firefighters and is for how to put out railroad tank fires. And it's pretty awesome. So it's called BLEVE, BLEVE, I think, and which stands for something that they will explain. Yeah, you just give me, basically, I looked up in my film database, I looked up trains, locomotives, railroads, and it brought up like 30 different films. A lot of them were very basic, but this one was pretty great. So here's BLEVE. Enjoy.
It was shortly after 2 in the afternoon when the Missouri Pacific freight train jumped the rails on the outskirts of Houston. 18 cars piled up. Many of them carried dangerous chemicals, and several of them exploded. Firemen struggled to relay water to the scene, but the nearest fire hydrant was several hundred yards away.
You want them to come out Macau Road? Give me 2 more pumpers over on the Macau Road side.
Fire officials feared another explosion and ordered all the houses in the area evacuated. Fireman Andy Nelson was on a ladder trying to keep another tank from exploding. Fire Chief Jim Honey was unable to find out what was in the burning car.
Well, keep your water then. Here, keep it cool as much as you can. Let the fire burn. They think it's ethyl chloride on fire, and we're going to have to let it burn down. There's nothing we've got here to put that out.
Tank cars and tank trucks are a common sight. Each day, millions of gallons of cargo are transported in tank containers. Some carry milk, others carry chemicals, many carry fuels. Two of the most common tank cargoes are liquefied flammable gases, such as propane, and flammable liquids, like gasoline. Almost every community has tanks containing flammable liquids and gases traveling its roads and railways daily. These materials are transported from producing plants to storage and distribution centers and are again moved to points of use and resale. Tank containers have grown larger as fuel consumption has increased. Tank trucks carrying as many as 10,000 gallons and jumbo railway tank cars carrying upwards of 30,000 gallons are now common. Both gasoline and propane are transported in a liquid state. Under normal atmospheric pressure, propane is a gas, but for economy of movement and storage, it's liquefied, reducing its volume 270 times. To keep propane as a liquid, pressure must be maintained, requiring tanks of greater strength than those used for gasoline. To allow for liquid expansion in case of heating, tanks are never completely filled. Above the liquid level, a space is left, which remains full of vapor. At the top of all tanks are relief devices designed to limit internal pressure. On tank cars, these take the form of relief valves contained in domes, which also house fittings used in transfer operations. On tank trucks, relief devices are also located on top, but loading and unloading is most often accomplished from below. Standards for tank design, marking, and placarding, as well as standards for the transportation of hazardous materials, are regulated by state and federal agencies. Under normal circumstances, the transportation of liquefied flammable gases is quite safe. But an accident can lead to a special type of explosion, known as a BLEVE, a boiling, liquid, expanding vapor explosion. In a collision or derailment, liquefied gases can be released, vaporizing immediately. Being heavier than air, they remain close to the ground. spark, or other source of ignition can ignite these vapors, flashing back to the leaking liquid. The fire heats another tank. The liquid inside that tank becomes heated, boils, and expands, increasing the pressure within the tank. The relief valve operates to limit the excess pressure. The tank can withstand this pressure only as long as the tank metal retains its design strength. Where flames contact the tank below the liquid level, the liquid acts to absorb the heat, and the tank metal below this point remains at a safe temperature. With continued relief valve operation, the liquid level drops, exposing greater areas of metal to the effects of heating. Flames contacting the tank above the liquid level create temperatures within the metal high enough to weaken it. When this happens, the pressure within the tank can cause the metal to thin and eventually tear. The pressure drops suddenly. Large quantities of boiling liquid vaporize, expand, and ignite immediately, and tank pieces become flying missiles. Large sections of the tank car can rocket over 1/2 mile and often trail ignited liquid. The ground flash covers an area hundreds of feet in diameter. The blast wave has tremendous force, enough to break windows several miles away. The fireball rises on a thermal column, radiating heat severe enough to cause burns for distances up to 1,000 feet beyond the fireball. This all happens swiftly and without warning.
Test 1, 2. D&H Railroad derailment 21274. Approximately 4:10 this afternoon, a 100-car train of the D&H Railroad was traveling through the town of Emmons, just east of Oneonta. 28 cars derailed, 8 of them bulk pressurized propane tank cars. Searing hot flames and smoke soaring as high as 150 feet into the air. The scene is a mess, with cars strewn all over the railroad.
How many firefighters have ever seen a fireball hundreds of feet in diameter? How many have ever seen a 12-ton section of tank car rocket through the air, trailing burning fuel? The traditional fire department approach is to attack and extinguish all fires. Because of the serious nature of BLEVEs, it is recommended that fire departments reevaluate their approach to these transportation accidents. Crescent City, Illinois, June 21st, 1970. At 6:30 in the morning, 15 cars of a daily freight train derailed. 9 tank cars were involved. The resulting fire immediately ignited nearby buildings. Firefighters were at first unable to determine the exact contents of the tank cars. Loss of electrical power to pumps made water unavailable to firefighters. Evacuation of the area began shortly after the first alarm. When it was determined that the tanks contained propane, firefighters too moved to safer positions. 63 minutes after derailment, a tank BLEVE'd. About 2 hours later, a second tank BLEVE'd. And 5 minutes after that, a third. With limited water supplies exhausted, fire officials decided to withdraw. The 2 remaining tanks, punctured by rocketing debris, were simply allowed to burn until all of the propane was consumed, some 56 hours later. Because of prompt evacuation and caution on the part of firefighters, there were no fatalities. 66 people were, however, injured by the blast and fire. 25 residences were destroyed, and 90% of the Crescent City Business District was demolished. Arizona, July 5, 1973. At a gas distribution plant on the outskirts of Kingman, two employees were connecting a single propane tank car to an unloading rack when they noticed a leak. During their attempt to stop the leak, a fire ensued. Upon arrival, firefighters found flames contacting the upper area of the tank and had no way of knowing how long the tank had been exposed. The nearest fire hydrant was about 1,200 feet away. About 10 minutes after firefighters arrived, the tank car BLEVE'd. The force of the explosion propelled half of the tank car end over end along the track for 1,200 feet. The initial ground flash, about 400 feet in diameter, caught 13 firemen. 12 of them were killed. 95 people were injured by the blast, most of them spectators, stopped on the highway some 1,000 feet from the tank site. At Crescent City, life and property exposure was high. Tank contents were not immediately known, and water for cooling was not available. The pileup of tanks multiplied the BLEVE hazard. Only by the quick evacuation of civilians and the judicious retreat of the fire forces was loss of life avoided. At Kingman, the threat to life and property in the immediate area was minimal. The contents of the tank were known, but water was not readily available. The relief valve was operating, but flames were still impinging on the upper vapor part of the tank, and a BLEVE was possible at any moment. Considering these and other BLEVEs, certain points should be borne in mind by fire officers when judging life safety and other hazards in an accident involving tank containers. Is there fire? If no fire, is there leakage which could result in fire? Knowing the contents of the tanks can be extremely helpful, although under emergency conditions, this information is often not readily available. If there is fire, how long has the tank been exposed to flames? This information is also rarely available to fire officers during the emergency. Some BLEVEs have occurred as early as 10 minutes after initial flame contact. Even though the relief valve is operating, a BLEVE can still occur. Given the location, what is the threat to life and property? Is civilian evacuation possible? Does the risk to life and property justify endangering the lives of firefighters? How much water is available? The application of water can keep tank metal at safe temperatures, but only if large volumes can be delivered to all points of flame contact. Water application may need to be sustained for several hours. Fire officers are advised to assess carefully the danger to emergency personnel before making a commitment to fighting a fire involving serious BLEVE hazards. Although transportation accidents occur with little warning, there are things which firefighters can do. Pre-fire planning can reduce the impact of a BLEVE. Know on what routes hazardous materials are most frequently transported. Examine the potential exposure risk. Evaluate firefighting resources. While many of the dangers of transporting hazardous materials cannot be eliminated, they can be minimized through planning.
yeah, somebody commented that the soundtrack very creepy. I would say that the giant explosion of a propane railroad car was really, really, really terrifyingly, awesomely scary. That was something else. I can only imagine the sound from miles away, hearing this loud explosion that's quite something. Yeah. So you asked for railroads. That's about railroads, right? You know, something catches fire. I don't have as many railroad safety films as I would like. I'm still actively kind of keeping an eye out for some, but it's interesting. There's if you look at the Prelinger Archive on Internet Archive, and you look up railroads or locomotives or trains, there's a lot of films about transport, about transporting animals and livestock and grain, and you know how it makes our post-war life better. Which, you know, yeah, sure did. But then kind of intercut a giant explosion. But you know what? Some of these cars actually contain milk, so we're okay with that. Milk. All right, let's see what else we got here. We got a bunch of films pulled. I think I'm gonna forego the other silent. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how we're doing on time. But I just saw that somebody donated. Rosemary donated Patreon. Patreon. This is worse than a mirror looking at this webcam. Anyways, if you like what you saw and you'd like to support the AV Geeks in a minor way, Patreon's kind of like a tip jar subscription service where you can, you know, donate $1 or $2 or $5 or $25 a month. Yeah, donate $25 a month. That's awesome. And that money goes towards internet. There's this service I use called Restream that actually streams footage to multiple places. So we're actually streaming to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, the video game site, just in the hopes that some little kid's going to go like, what's that weird black and white film? So this is my opportunity to kind of spread the word at the same time. So so that Restream subscription fee is covered by Patreon. Plus we buy things on eBay still. We buy supplies. You know, there's crazy fast internet that we have here. There's all sorts of stuff. And slowly, you know, I'm looking to buy like a better streaming software and better webcams and better digitizers and all that stuff. So these are ways that you're supporting us and making what we do better and share it with more people. Another way you can support is just tell people about what we're doing. You know, go to avgeeks.com, or the stream thing will be available. You can watch it anytime you want. You can watch it tomorrow at work. Provided Facebook doesn't hear music that it thinks I'm violating some sort of copyright. So, all right. So this next film, black and white, highly entertaining. It's called Railroadin. Enjoy. I just realized you didn't hear anything I said. I was sitting there blathering like an idiot. You didn't hear a single thing I said. I'll recap later.
Well, you know, I couldn't stand to see a cowboy, and I'm a man that could live when I
What we got for lunch? Oh, a great lunch today. We had pickle sandwiches.
Ah, that's a banquet, huh?
Yes.
You bet.
Say, Pop, how do you run this thing?
Oh, look, son. See? Reach the brake.
Yes.
Pull her out. Away we go.
Yes.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Pull it out.
Hey, Pop. Yeah? When we pass the game tonight, put my hand on the throttle.
Sure. Put it on. Go ahead.
Hi, son. Hey, Pop, can I blow the whistle?
Sure. Go ahead, son. Well, son, here's where we stop.
When the old man leaves, will I sure to give us a ride? Well, I ain't taking the ride that I home. Oh, that's a lot of fun. Well, what's your man mean?
Hold on. Attaboy. Very good.
Gee, Pop, you're a slow guy.
Listen, son, you didn't drive that engine. Now, Ed and I are going to eat our lunch, and I don't want you boys moving on this engine. Someone will get hurt.
Okay, Pop.
All right.
Hey, we put it over on that time, didn't we, Chuck? Right, so. Hi, son. Hey, I'm Billy, Johnny. I feel marvelous. Say, I didn't know you could run an engine. Sure, I've been running for years. Hey, Johnny, why do you take us for a little ride up and down? Well, I'm not feeling well today. Yeah, I know you're scared. That's the cause. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Well, then take us for a ride, will you, Joe? And will you go for leader? Well, I'm afraid not, brother, today. I might get run over. Well, then take me, Jody. Come on. Well, don't rush me. Come on. Come on, Chubby. Get me. Get up. Man, if he can run that engine, he's a bad cat. Yes, sir. Well, go in front of it. I'll show you how to run this. Well... yeah, you think it's smart, don't you? said, Pop, that's for the steam all over. Thinks he's smart.
Say, Ed, do you know that I think I was wrong in letting those kids on that engine? I think you were too, Otto. From now on, I'm going to keep you kids out of these yards. Supposing that one of you got your foot caught in a switch. Or supposing that you kids were playing on that engine. And someone started it, and it ran away.
God.
Hey, Joe! Get off that engine. Come here.
Well, how do you run this thing? Well, you pull that thing up there, but I don't know how to stop it. Yeah, you're scared. No, I'm not. Well, then do something. Look! Look, Joe.
I got this. Trying to see this engine, are you?
No!
I can run an engine and run it for 1,000 miles a second. Watch me. Come here. Come here. All right. You have a good ride. Now watch me run this engine. Watch. I'll show you. Just a minute. Watch me. I'll get it. Here. Hey, you guys, wait a minute here. What's the matter? Were you kids running that engine?
No, we were trying to stop it.
Well, how did you get in it?
Well, we were playing on it, and Local Joe started up, and we couldn't stop it.
They should put that fellow away.
I think so, too.
Do we get reward for this, mister?
Yes, my boy. You'll get a reward. Your reward's coming from above.
Some reward.
Now, if that brakeman hadn't got to that switch in time, you would have all been killed. Now, that's what could happen to you if a crazy man started that engine and it ran away.
Gosh, geez, Pop, I'll never play on the engine again as long as I live.
Shut up.
Oh, look! Marina went to sleep. He didn't hear what you said. We were trying to stop it. Some reward. Some reward is right. Mammy!
Oh, Little Rascals. one was actually kind of terrifying. And racially insensitive. Farina, man. Always get hit in the head with an egg. Nearly got run over by a train, 4 or 5 times. But I used to like watching this as a kid. It's exciting as a kid. You don't catch all the racial insensitivities. But this one is kind of harrowing. Maybe this is the key that I'm an adult now is watching this and thinking about what could happen. My hair is all a mess. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna stop messing with it. So yeah, maybe this is the difference. Be as young Skip going like, "Wow, that was awesome," and adult Skip going, "Oh no, that's horrible." I guess we all grow up. But yeah, there it is, Railroadin. Another Hal Roach. Released by Black Hawk. Again, Black Hawk was re-releasing a lot of stuff for home markets, so this was shown libraries. Also, a lot of people who had home sound 60mm projectors, they could buy this, or they could rent it long before video. So I have put it out there. The next screening, live screening that we'll do streaming is going to be on May 20th, which is, again, a Sunday. Want to know what your suggestions are. We've had 2 good ones. Chris Lipska suggested space. I have quite a few space films, and I guess my personal challenge would be not to show NASA ones, just show other ones. But I'll sneak in a NASA, I'm sure. And then somebody suggested, Dana suggested cats. Also have a lot of great films about cats, some sad films about cats. Anybody else have a suggestion? We'll put it up for a vote. I can't really read comments while I'm here. Let's see, fast food, spies, espionage, cartoons. Fast food. Literature adaptations, tradesperson, or craft videos. Boy, they're all coming in here. All right, well, let's close the voting, or let's close the suggestions, and everybody vote on those suggestions. So there's a bunch of them. I should have. Okay, so we got cats, we got space, we got fast food. Finley, I don't think we have a lot of spies and espionage films. But cartoons, yes. Literature adaptations, yes. And craft videos, craft films. All right. Vote on one of those. And by the end of this, we will determine what we're going to watch. All right. So what have we seen so far? We've seen model railroading. We've seen steam trains leaving Dearborn. What else? Oh, I haven't watched that yet. All right, I'll watch that one. Yeah. Little Rascals. Wide variety of things. This film is fascinating. I can't remember where I got it from. I think I got it from a collection of promotional films, sales films. It was by a company that actually made sales films for different companies, and this one is awesome because I love films about manufacturing. So this is a film about manufacturing, kinda, but it's a sales film, and it is. We talked about racial insensitivity. This is gender insensitive. Kinda. We have a salesman who's trying to make some good time with a woman that comes into his office. And hilarity ensues. Kind of. So this film is called give the lady what she wants, and it's hilarious to think what the salesman thinks that she wants. So, enjoy.
Hi, are you the tank car people? Oh, we certainly are. Well, I want to buy a tank car.
You meet nice people in our business. Smart people, too. They know there's more to it than just ordering a tank on wheels. They have to consider geography, commodity, economics, safety. It takes smart people with know-how to operate tank cars.
Good morning. What can I do for you?
I need some tank cars.
Well, you've come to the right place.
Oh?
There aren't many ladies who realize how much they depend on tank cars. They carry bulk liquids, thousands of gallons at a time. So she can pick them up in easy-to-carry containers, right in her own neighborhood, and bring them home to stock her pantry. Building safe, reliable tank cars is important, particularly to millions of ladies who need the products they carry. Tank cars are versatile. They carry almost any liquid that comes to mind. Liquid hydrogen at more than 400 degrees below zero, and binder pitch at 500 above. They come in all sizes and capacities, for high-pressure compressed gases or low-pressure liquids. They can be equipped with several kinds of fittings for loading and unloading. They can have heating coils, depending on the product, and special insulations to keep materials with delicate in-transit temperatures at stable levels, and safety appliances to give the lady what she wants. It takes skill to design a good tank car and to build one. The lady uses chlorine, at least on Mondays, and butane for more than lighting candles. Whether she knows it or not, acetaldehyde, and things she wouldn't try to pronounce, like hexamethylene diamine or acrylonitrile for plastics. Perhaps the lady wants a tank car for corrosive liquids, such as caustic soda for paper and ink, or glassware, or detergents, and sodium chlorate to polish her furniture, or methyl chloroformate to polish off the bugs. To meet the demand for better home chemicals, industry creates new products every day. The car builder provides tank cars to carry them, like latex to keep her home bright, or ethyl alcohol for her parties, or bromine for pharmaceuticals to keep her family healthy. Tank cars are restless. They travel everywhere, railroad to railroad, shipper to receiver, doing the job for which they were designed. There's hardly a store on any street which doesn't sell things which once moved in tank cars. Their names might confuse the lady, but she would recognize their end products because she uses them every day. That's why every improvement in car design or construction helps to control the delivered cost of finished goods. Ladies like that. There's more to the story than industry shipping bulk liquids in cars. Between the traffic manager and the lady, many people get involved with tank cars. Shippers rely on railroads to keep their cars efficiently and safely on the go. Bulk terminals play a critical role in handling and distributing large volumes of liquids from water to surface transportation. Tank cars help industry to develop new markets and expand distribution. There's romance in the tank car business, too. Cars moving endless miles across the Great Plains. From the eastern seaboard to the far west, and all points in between.
That's interesting, but I'd just like to buy a few little ones.
Well, that's fine. But are you sure you want to buy them?
What do you mean?
When you buy tank cars, you've all the problems of ownership, like keeping track of them and seeing that they're in good running condition. Why don't you lease them from us and let us take care of the headaches?
I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing. Really,
Well, we're really trying to sell you service.
Service. That's a word we use quite often. A long time ago, we learned that good service is the most important thing we can offer our customers. Full service begins with contact sales, on-the-spot representatives who respond immediately to problems and inquiries. A continuing service to more than 900 customers in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Not only for large companies, but the smaller ones who will be big tomorrow. Contact sales is the work of 50 or more district representatives, averaging better than 20 years' experience. Our salesmen are part of a full-service organization, which is like a triangle. Customer, salesman, and the vitally important resources of management, finance, legal, engineering, tax services, accounting, and other key people working together to make good service better. They solve problems, beginning with a review of the salesman's recommendations. Full service means tailoring lease programs to fit individual requirements, correlating activities with each customer in terms of quality, cost, and quantity. Full service is a network of repair shops located within primary markets, staffed with skilled workers, equipped with up-to-date fabricating tools, operating self-contained shops capable of handling all kinds of work. Full service means a modern computer system to speed repairs and to track each car during its maintenance cycle, and provide instant recall of data pertinent to each car of the fleet, Facts which once took hundreds of hours to compile manually, now transmitted directly to the shop even before the car arrives. In this way, shop managers can schedule repairs and keep downtime to a minimum.
My, I get all that just by leasing the tank cars?
A lot more than that. The key to a full-service organization is fleet services. Personal attention to each account, as well as the entire fleet of more than 55,000 cars. Car mileage is collected and credited to each customer. When there is a sudden surge in a lessee's business, we'll assign additional cars to cover him. Or if there is a temporary lull, we can arrange swaps and trades to benefit both parties. Car reports are computerized and updated daily. We know where the cars are, in shops, on lease, in storage, or scheduled for new commodity services. Repair programs are also monitored by computer. This enables us to return cars to the customer with a minimum time out of service.
But are these tank cars safe?
They have been for more than a century. In fact, since the end of the Civil War, when the first oil wells were brought in, most crude oil was shipped by barge. But shallow waters and unpredictable currents caused accidents. Not only oil and barge, but people were lost. These early shippers turned to rail transportation. Not long after, one oil well operator designed the first tank car, 2 tubs on a flat car, and it worked. A new era in mass movement of bulk liquids had begun. The tank car has come a long way. With sophisticated new commodities came regulation, design and construction in strict conformity with detailed specifications. Generalization is a thing of the past. Cars are designed with the specific properties of each commodity in mind. Cars, as well as components, have improved continuously to keep pace with faster train speeds, heavier impact forces, and other technological advancements, like the trend toward larger cars. It kept pace with industry, modifying machinery, improving running abilities, adjusting economics. It is the result of more than a half-century of progress through research and development, engineering, planning, and testing. Each single car must be approved by a regulatory agency before it can be placed in service. Intricate new testing patterns have evolved a standard evaluation for each new car design. Quality control has been established to demonstrate that each car can perform under stringent conditions beyond normal wear and tear. Engineering tests are only part of the operations of the world's largest tank car manufacturer, located at Sharon, Pennsylvania. Here's where most of the improvements in design and construction are begun, through the close coordination of engineers who know how to design reliable cars, and top production people who know how to build them efficiently and economically, and schedule customer orders into the manufacturing cycle. Purchasing people who regulate inventories, making sure that stock is on hand to meet assembly deadlines. Data processing people who tell us how efficiently we're building the cars. Communication between office and shop is continual. Dispatchers make sure that materials are brought into the shop on time and delivered to assembly areas, where skilled workmen convert them to tank car components. Steel plates are cut on burning tables and heated in walking beam furnaces to nearly 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Plates are moved by vacuum lift to reduce bending and double beveled in preparation for welding. They are formed into cylindrical tank sections or rings on huge plate rollers. Each section is welded automatically before it is attached to other rings. After the tank head has been added, all remaining seams are permanently welded by automatic tandem arc machines, mounted on remote-controlled positioners to guarantee uniform welded seams. Each weld is X-rayed, then carefully inspected by quality control people before the tank is sent to a stress-relieving furnace to remove all metallic strain. Automation has a vital part in building today's tank car. Axles ride a conveyor system from one machine to another. Wheels travel on a separate conveyor line. At its end, wheels and axles are joined together and moved to the next station, where tremendous pressures are applied to mount the wheels and the roller bearings. Side frames and bolsters are added, and miscellaneous parts. Before the truck is moved on, it is carefully inspected. Tanks are tested and measured for capacity in the meter gauging area. Then handrails and walkways are added. And top fittings. End components. Air brake lines. Side ladders and bottom fittings. Tank surfaces are blasted down to parent metal. Shop supervisors coordinate each day's activities to maintain production schedules. Each car is painted, and stenciled. Then, final inspection before the car is placed into service and becomes part of the world's largest fleet of privately owned cars.
That's quite a story. I'll take 3 new ones.
Great. Now, let's get some information on your product so we'll know what kind of tank car it should be.
Oh, I'm not going to put anything in them. They're a birthday present from my nephew. He wants some tank cars for his model train set, and I thought I'd... Is that okay?
That's fine. Just fine. You mean the little ones?
Of course. You're the tank car people, aren't you?
You mean like this?
Is that H.O. gauge? Then that's exactly what I want. Have you another one? Oh, they're perfect. How much are they?
No charge, miss. Our compliments.
Well, that's very nice of you. Thank you very much. Bye now. I'm going to tell all my friends about this.
Well, how's everything, Stanley?
Ha ha! Do you get it? She wanted a tank car, but she wanted a little toy tank car. Ah! I have a couple of films that are like this genre, where they have this, and they both use kind of sexy ladies. I have another one called, what is it, Mrs. Puff? And it's about toner, the copier toner, and this was very early on in the when basically it was only Xerox, and they were making a third-party toner, and so they have this ludicrous wraparound of this sexy secretary, Miss Puff, and then this incredibly dry, in this case, with this other film, this case of this showing how the xerography works, and it is so dry. But they're like, okay, we've got this really boring slideshow, we gotta liven it up a little bit. So we have all this boring tank car manufacturing footage, which honestly I actually really dig. I like it a lot. Now the whole thing about the service and the whole, a bunch of people looking at charts and computer screens, not so interesting, but actually making the tank cars, in my mind, is pretty cool. But yes, the same type of wraparound of, enter sexy girl, blah 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 blah, and then a horrible punchline at the end. It's funny. I have a book I got called the Encyclopedia of Exploitation, which is made for theater owners, circa 1930s, 1940s. It was before World War II, and it's 1,001 ideas to create publicity stunts, basically, to get people to come see your whatever movie you're showing. And it kind of doesn't matter what movie you're showing. It always has the same types of things. And I would say many of these publicity stunts involve a pretty girl. A pretty girl, walks down the street carrying a picture of Clark Gable, who she is pining over. A pretty girl is carrying a baby carriage, featuring a picture of the actress from this movie. Blah blah blah. Pretty girl. So, pretty girls can sell, I guess, movies. They can sell toner, third-party toner, and they can sell tank cars. And then this is, I mean, I was getting some side comments. People were texting me and saying like, boring. This is fascinating to me because again, this is why I collect what I collect, because these are niche films made for very specific audiences, and so yeah, give the lady what she wants. All right, got another film for you, another black and white film, and this is actually kind of an interesting genre back in the silent days. This one is silent itself, but it's pretty cool. There was this whole series of films, and some of you film experts out there might be able to offer more information about this, but whole series of films about train heist movies, and including women who operated telegraphs. Whole big genre of those that came out around the same time. They were all, kind of copying each other, but it's interesting. We think about sports movie genres, or we think about, buddy cop movie genre. Well, there used to be a train heist with women telegraph operator genre. So this one is called Leap from the Water Tower. So enjoy. And remember, this is silent. So obviously, Black Hawk, the people who put this film out, they're not only catering to the silent film aficionado, but they're also catering to the railroad locomotive aficionado. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Carl looked it up. Hazards of Helen. She was often the heroine. She was the one that actually figured out how to stymie the crooks, the robbers, or whatever else was going on. She was the one that figured it out using her. Sorry about that, everybody. I did not turn off the that loud sound was basically the sound head with double perf film, so it was making that sound. Sorry. Anyways, so yeah, this is a pretty great thing. It's like early cinema, and it's got lots of thrills and chills, and it has a woman protagonist. We often forget that nowadays. So, yeah, that's why I like watching films like this and hanging out with film people, going to some symposiums. I was just at the Orphans Film Symposium in New York last weekend, and so I'm always learning about film, like older films and genres, and both in the United States and abroad. There's lots of different types of films out there that historically we just forget about entirely. So, all right, I got one more film for you. So we put the vote out there. Even after I said, here are the choices, there were still people that were like going, woo! So fast food won, both on YouTube and Facebook combined. People want to do fast food, and this was suggested by a young girl. So I have a couple of fast food films that I will show. Some of them I've shown before. Some of them are new. You haven't seen them before. So we'll show that on the 20th. I have one more film for you. Thanks for hanging in there. We showed some challenging films tonight. But, what did you want to see with railroad footage? I mean, really, you guys voted for it, so what did you expect? All right. So one last film. And you'll either thank me or you'll curse my name for this last film. If I can get it out of the can. Hold on a second. There we go. Wow. The can almost split in two. But it's a short film. And again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's a lot of fun showing films to people and getting their feedback. I am doing screenings in Raleigh. I've got one coming up at the next one is at the Alamo in southeast Raleigh, the Alamo Draft House on New Bern on April 30th. I'm going to be showing some drug films to our delight and horror. Then May 11th, I'm going to be doing another thing at the Alamo with the Science Museum. We're going to be watching Blade Runner, the original one. Can't wait to see that on the big screen. Then I think the next screening I'm doing is on the 20th May. Well, then May 20th for fast food films. Then May 23rd, I think, is at King's. I'm going to be showing Why Your Job Sucks. Films that are about managing employees, about being an employee, safety films. A variety of films that just show crappy work situations. It's more fun when you see somebody else work in a crappy job than it is to realize that your job is crappy. So that is, I believe, the 23rd. Go to Facebook, the AV Geeks page. That's where you can find out a lot of this information. Again, if you like what you saw, you can donate on Patreon, or you can go to avgeeks.com. Watching videos there that have ads, I get money, ad revenue, and it's always surprising to see how that money kind of comes in. And I don't do this for the money, but it helps. It pays some bills, and it allows me to be flexible with buying stuff on eBay, which is a guilty pleasure, where I can find really weird stuff. Yeah, donating there or watching videos, sharing this streaming event, or any of the AV Geeks events is all part of our mission to get these films out into the world and get other eyeballs watching them, thinking about them, laughing at them, being horrified by them, etc. So one last film. I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm sorry and you're welcome. It's a great way to start a new week. So here we go. I absolutely love that Xerox has duplication or transmission of this work is prohibited. The company that actually created photocopy.
Grammar is not your grandma, it's your grammar. Grammar rock. Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up words and phrases and clauses.
Conjunction, junction, how's that function?
I got 3 favorite cars that get most of my job done.
Conjunction, junction, what's their function?
I got and, but, and, or, they'll get you pretty far. And, that's an additive, like this and that. But, that's sort of the opposite, not this, but that. And then there's or, O-R, when you have a choice like this or that. And, but, and, or, get you pretty far.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up 2 boxcars and making them run right. Milk and honey, bread and butter, peas and rice.
Hey, that's nice.
Dirty but happy, digging and scratching, losing your shoe and a button or 2. He's poor but honest, sad but true. Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up 2 cars to 1 when you say something like this. Choice, either now or later, or no choice. Neither now nor ever.
Hey, that's clever.
Eat this or that, grow thin or fat. Never mind, I wouldn't do that, I'm fat enough now.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up phrases and clauses that balance like out of the frying pan and into the fire. He cut loose the sandbags, but the balloon wouldn't go any higher. Let's go up to the mountains or down to the seas. You should always say thank you or at least say please.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up words and phrases and clauses in complex sentences like, in the mornings when I'm usually wide awake, I love to take a walk through the gardens and down by the lake where I often see a duck and a drake. And I wonder as I walk by just what they'd say if they could speak. Although I know that's an absurd thought.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up cars and making them function.
Conjunction, junction, how's that function?
I like tying up words and phrases and clauses.
Conjunction, junction, watch that function.
I'm gonna get you there if you're very careful.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
I'm going to get you there if you're very careful.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
I'm going to get you there.
Thanks again, everybody, for coming out. That's what I say when I do a live show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. There you go. May 20th, fast food. If you're in the Raleigh area, love to see you at a show. Come and introduce yourself. And I will see you soon. Have a good rest of the April.